Hi, this is Anonymous Spells. I'm Megan Turner, and I'm here with Colleen Alice, and we're talking about literary setbacks today. So, things that feel like setbacks or are setbacks, and how to deal with them when they come up. We've all experienced them, and we're going to talk about some of our own setbacks as well. Colleen, I guess let's get started. Um, do you want to tell us about sort of maybe a setback you've experienced or like, I don't know,
Yeah,
something that
it's
you feel like comfortable sharing?
sure. I was just thinking we just had the 4th of July holiday and we picked like a big bummer topic to start the week after. Like
Yeah,
to
and
start after.
I mean, I guess I should frame this as I had a major literary setback recently. Colleen knows about it. I'm not going to go into details about it. And hopefully at some point we will, and we'll talk about it once I'm on the other side of it, not like feeling distraught about it. But
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think it's an important topic because I mean, I think you have setbacks in life, and obviously everyone has some sort of setback, but I think literary setbacks feel different. Like it feels like there's like you hit that more because you're getting rejections all the time, and you have to submit your work to agents and to publishers and to I feel like sometimes it's like one step forward and three steps back, and then and I do get like from a lot of my students um, like very simple, and I guess this is kind of going back to like an earlier question that I was thinking about, but like something that doesn't really feel like a setback, but they feel it's a setback, you know. Like I know in my classes a lot of times they'll say, oh, I submitted to the New Yorker and I got a rejection, and so now I'm all done. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my
And that's
God.
to me an example of a setback that's not really a setback because
Yeah.
you and I both know you've got to submit to a ton of places and they can't be the New Yorker, you know, if
I,
you're
I,
starting off.
yeah, I was like, wow, was it personalized? That's amazing.
Yeah, I think they said something like they kept it and it was cool, you know. But I mean, it's not like you shouldn't try to go outside. But you know, if you're starting off, you're a new writer, you've sent to one place, and they said no, that doesn't mean that's the end of your career.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and I think it's one of those things where I think it's just hard. And you could tell me if you feel this way, but I think sometimes it's hard if you're someone who's kind of wired to be an achiever, like a hard
mhm.
worker. It's really hard to understand that like that kind of doesn't matter in some respects. I mean, it matters, but it's also this intangible thing that's just luck, or like did this editor at that magazine like it at this time during this. It's just like things have to align. It's so out of your
Yeah,
control,
yeah,
and I think that's really hard because I'm someone who's really wired to be a hard worker, and I want to see the results of that, and like I want meritocracy, I guess, but that's not what it is when you're trying to publish.
yeah. I think sometimes too, people like come in from another field and they're like, oh, like I've had this happen before. Like I'm the CEO of this, or like I've done this, and that doesn't necessarily translate just because you did well in one field, or you're like, you know, like you said, like a hard worker doesn't mean that that translates to literary success, and you have to sort of build that up, you know, versus like you don't just sort of step into it. Usually, it's not something that you just get up automatically, you know. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, I've had stories that I've submitted to, you know, sometimes I've submitted to only like three or four places and gotten it, but sometimes it's been like 20 places or 30 places, you know, or like years of submitting, you know. So I
Mhm.
think that you're kind of in for this long haul, and that, yeah, one rejection from the New Yorker isn't a setback. And not that you couldn't get that at some point, you know, people do,
Yeah.
you know, I know writers who have gotten to that point and, you know, but that's not really where you start off, and that's not like time to like, you know, rein it all in and never submit to anything ever
Yeah. Yeah.
again.
That's so funny. Yeah, they need to recalibrate a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of skipped around a little in my questions here, but um, so I guess we can talk about what our examples of literary setbacks are and try to offer some wisdom along the way.
Yeah, I was trying to think because of course I've had, lots of rejection. So I was kind of hoping we could say something more helpful to people than just like
Mhm.
just keep going. Like
Yeah,
rejections happen. Like I'm sure
yeah,
people, if you're out there trying to get your work out there, it's like you already know that. But sometimes setbacks can happen in unexpected ways. And so I was telling you, my example was I had a book that I'm not the author of the book, I'm just the editor, but I had put some preparatory essays. It's the book, I talked about it. It came out in May this year. So this book had quite a journey. The journey goes all the way back to like 2019, I think, maybe 2020. But without naming names and without getting too in the weeds, it went through several processes with one particular press that led me to believe it was a go.
Mhm.
And then I was basically like, okay, like I'll send my revision. It might take me some time because I have little kids and it's a pandemic. Sure, sure, no problem. When I sent my revision, the editor had left. There was no one knew who I was. They
Mhm.
were like, "Who are you?" Like, I had to go through the whole like rigmarole again with a new editor. So that was tough. And then they ultimately passed on the project right at the
Mhm.
stage where I thought they were going to offer a contract. They were like, actually, no. And I was like, couldn't you have told me that when I started
Mhm.
going through the process again, it was like they said yes, yes, no, and stretched out over years. And like during that time, I'm not submitting a proposal anywhere else because I think
Yeah.
this is locked in, right? Even though it's kind of my mistake because we didn't sign a contract. So, and I know even
Mhm.
when you sign a contract, that can get broken, but that was a setback. But the story has a happy ending because I ultimately reframed the book and found a publisher that I think maybe was a better match for it all along. So that's kind of like a
Yeah.
nice happy ending. But yeah, the shock of getting the email that's like, oh, who are you? And I'm like, I've been working on this book all this time and you don't even know. I was just like
Yeah, so
forgotten out
sometimes I
there.
feel like you get something positive and then two bad things at the same, like you get
Yeah.
like an acceptance and then two rejections at the same time, or so then it's hard to sort of like figure out, is that a progress or is that like
Like one step forward, two steps
yeah,
back, and then eight steps back, and then a step to the side. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
That reminds me of, because when I was doing my submission process and I got to revise and resubmit and I was like, oh yes, and then it was I think around the same time around the pandemic, and I thought, oh, I don't need to submit anymore, I've got to revise it, and it ended up not panning out, and I had to kind of go back to the drawing board and like submit again, and yeah, and some of it is like, oh, you think you're somewhere and you're not, or and you have to kind of readjust everything and figure out what to do now. um and it's yeah, it's tough to like take a step back and be like, but I did get this published and this did happen, and because you feel like in the moment, oh my God, like another sort of bad thing has happened to me. um yeah, I don't know if I have anything as specific as that, but I was thinking, and maybe we'll talk more about MFAs later, but I was thinking about my MFA experience, and that's really early on, I guess. But my program was kind of like where you had to apply for funding every year. And I remember one year I didn't get it until like October, and I like went to go talk to someone about it, and I was like, I'm like, so like, what am I gonna do? I'm so desperate. Like, what? And the person said something to me, and I like won't, and I don't want to name names either, but I won't forget this. But if she was like, maybe you should consider whether or not you really want to be here, and and I was like, what? And I
Oh,
was thinking about this the other day because I've had times where something bad like has happened or a setback has happened, and I felt I got so much encouragement, and people were like, yeah, keep going, you can do it. And then I've had that other experience where someone has said something to me that was like, where it wasn't encouraging, and it was a total like kind of stopped me in my tracks.
yeah.
But I now that I'm thinking back about it, I was so angry about it that I was like, I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep going. So, I was thinking about, I don't know if this relates to our setback issue, but I think sometimes when you get a major setback and it's wrong, or like you have someone say something to you that it's wrong, that it actually sort of pushes you forward. Like at least that's my personality. Like if I feel like someone is saying something or discouraging me in some way and I know they're wrong, that actually sort of pushes me in the other direction. I'm like, oh, okay, like you don't know what you're talking about and I'm gonna ignore you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's something. that can be sort of reaffirming in a way, which is like the opposite of what you expect. Because, like Colleen and I sort of like we have setbacks and I think we like try to support each other, but it's I wouldn't imagine, sorry.
Okay, my bad. Keep going. I'm having a setback. Keep going.
um yeah, that like that you would ever say anything that discouraging. But if someone does say that, it feels like sometimes that actually can, push you forward.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like,
Um,
watch me
yeah.
do the thing. Hold my beer.
Yeah, like or if you get something that's totally like I've had rejections where they're like, I can't stand something written in first person, and you're like, oh, this is written in third. So you clearly didn't read my book, or like I don't know, like there's something about that that almost to me pushes you forward and makes you sort of reaffirm yourself in a way. So
Mhm.
I don't want to go too far off topic, and we'll talk more about MFAs later. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was just thinking about that, like um, what pushes you to the next step and what makes you kind of keep going. So yeah.
Mhm.
um, and I guess our question, which I've started to sort of answer, is what do you do when you get a setback, and what kind of wisdom can come from a setback? So I've just been talking about it. I'm going to turn this to Colleen, and if you need a water break.
Oh yeah, I just don't know if I have any great wisdom, and it always sounds so trite. It's like just keep going, and then people say like, oh, it's not for the faint of heart, but it's almost like it's not for the weak of stomach. Like I don't know, you just have to decide if you're going to keep trying to get your work out. And I also
Mhm.
want to say, if you do decide to just do writing projects and not try to get them out, that's a valid choice too. That's rewarding in and of itself. So
Mhm.
we're kind of putting an emphasis here on just like trying to get your work out,
Mhm.
because that's what, that's the piece that's like out of your control to a lot of, to some extent. But practical advice and wisdom, I just a few months ago, I finally tried to sometimes I still backslide, but I tried to like break up with my email. I had like an unhealthy relationship with my email where I was just like sitting on it. And so
Mhm.
now I'm a lot more like, okay, like I'll tell myself, I'll play a little game with myself, like don't look at it again until 6 p.m. or something. And just to kind of help with like, you got to live your life because like, yeah, you like two rejections in the same morning. And then you're like, you kind of start to feel like an elevated sense of like, oh, but kind of if you know yourself really well, I think you can do little things like that to manage it or just check it once a day like it's the normal mail. Like that should be what we do. I'm not saying
But
I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
I'm guilty. Sometimes I'm on my email too much, but yeah, same with social media too and just like all that stuff. So,
I mean, I don't know if you, I mean, I have a real like try to separate myself. Like sometimes I have my phone and it's very far away, and people are
mhm.
trying to message me, and I'm like, I don't even have my phone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can get to a point. It is kind of like scrolling for like bad news stories or
Yeah,
something.
you're like doom scrolling submittable. Like who's gonna reject me next?
Yeah, so I think like
Mhm.
I think for me, just we've talked about like the submission process, but before, but trying to, yeah, like you said, having some separation and not like constantly checking. That's why I'm not on social media so much. um,
Smart.
but yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I think it depends on like what it is that you're waiting for, because sometimes like I feel once you get into like submitting to journals and all of that, to me, I'm at a point now where it doesn't really affect me that much. And I'm just sort of like, oh, that's rejection or but
Yeah.
so I think the weightier things, the things that you're like, oh, I really hoped that I was going to get this and you don't get it. I think those are the things that can feel like sort of devastating, especially if it's like in your mind that you like already won or something, or you
Oh,
already felt
yeah.
like, you start to envision what it's going to be
Yes.
like or what your book cover is going to look like or something, and then that like comes crashing down if there's like so I don't know if there's like advice about that, but it's yeah, I think having some separation about it, taking a deep breath and moving on.
Touch
um
grass. That's what the kids say these days. Touch
it's
grass.
yeah. um yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, but it is a slow process and there are a lot of ups and downs. And I think sometimes having that perspective, like, and sometimes it doesn't come from yourself, and sometimes it comes from other people. And, it is encouraging when you get people, um, family members or friends saying, like, hang in there. But you also, I think, underneath that, have to have that sort of feeling in yourself that, like, okay, I'm going to get past this.
Mhm.
Even when you sometimes aren't able to see that, like, to be able to take a step back and be like, okay, this has happened to me before. I've had
Yeah.
people say mean things before. I've had this happen before, like, um, and now I can um, continue on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like next time sometime we'll talk about some other setbacks, but I feel like this is a good start for us anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, Colleen, do you have anything else? I don't know that you want to say?
Yeah. No, not really. Thanks for coming to our TED Talk. I don't know. I don't know that we solved any great problems, but it's also really great to have that friend that you can text and just be like, and they'll say like something nice to you. So it's really nice to be in the trenches with people that you can reach out. Because even like your family or like your spouse, like if they're not necessarily doing this type of thing, like they understand, but I think there's a ceiling on their understanding. So it's just really nice to have friends in the trenches.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, sometimes, like, you tell people who are not writers and they're like, oh, like, what's an agent?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, do you even need it? Or like there's just like a lack of sort of understanding of what the process is. And so then it just feels like they don't even sort of have the language to talk. So not to, and they are supportive, but like it does help to have writer friends who understand like what it is, to,
Mhm.
to be a writer and to have these kind of setbacks. Yeah.
Yeah, or the pain of like you submit something and you get rejected like 24 hours later, and it's just like, ouch.
Yeah, I
So
don't
it's
know if
great
faster is better.
to screenshot it and send it to tech. Look at this, the audacity. But yeah, that always helps.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, like three rejections for something is not a that's not a final no.
Oh, yeah.
So keep that in mind too, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, lots.
Anyway, yeah, I think that
Well,
we
good.
kind of covered this. Um, yeah, we're a little bit slower in the summer, but you can subscribe or like us if you want. We usually have a like we usually have a chat once a month or so. I feel like there's a lot I've got to edit out of this.
Sorry, listen, I did not get any sleep this past weekend because my dog hates the fireworks. So I'm sorry, I'm still tired, but
Um,
nevertheless, we persist.
anyway, hopefully we said something coherent and we'll take something away from this. And then until next time, I guess we're signing off. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye.